Welcome to the Watercolor Society of Indiana's 41st Annual Juried Exhibit. Please enjoy this special presentation.
Hi, I'm Linda Trowbridge, and I'm Watercolor Society of Indiana President, and we're here at Newfields at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, and we're going to take you on a tour of the Bret Waller Gallery, which is housing the 2023 WSI Juried Show. Many of you may not have had an opportunity to get here to see it, and we thought this would be a good way of doing it. The show closes on Saturday, September 30th. My husband and I were searching the internet the other day, and we saw the Kenosha show of the Transparent Watercolor Society of America, and they were doing a gallery tour. So I decided we could do that with a little twist on it. We don't have the judges here doing it, but we have the judges' comments, and we have a member that since 2007 of WSI that was a docent for 13 years at the museum and involved in their Closer Look program. And so she's going to take us on a tour of the award winners. She has talked with all of the artists and gotten their thoughts and what inspired their paintings. So without further ado, here is Linda Halcomb, and she is going to take it from here. Thank you.
Well, hello everybody. What I wanted to do first of all was just tell you a little bit about Karen Knutson, our judge, and about the way she judged the show. Karen actually has been painting since 1985. She's known nationally and internationally. She just won a major award in the American Watercolor Society show. And Karen's paintings today are pretty stylized. They're very colorful with strong linear elements. And I encourage all of you to take a look at her website. The other thing that I'd like to say about Karen is she was very generous with us and shared the 5 criteria that she used to judge the show. There were a couple of things that were very straightforward, and I think that we would all expect. Things like good design and excellent workmanship. And then there were other things that were not quite, that were more intuitive and more subjective. They are things like, does the painting have a wow factor? Does the painting have something unusual or extraordinary about it? And does the painting tell a story? You know, these are criteria that are, as I said, subjective, but it's kind of like I know it when I see it. Now, the other thing that Karen did that was very kind, she did have a message for all of our artists that entered. And she wanted them to know that they are the best judge of their work and that they should not be discouraged if they were not accepted for the show. Her mantra that she kept repeating was different show, different results. So I'd like to invite you now to join me and we'll take a look at our Best in Show painting. Okay. We're standing in front of the painting that won Best in Show. It's a painting that was done by Anne Cole Rose, and it's entitled Resurrection of Notre Dame. Anne was standing on the north side of Notre Dame Cathedral in May of 2022, and she had the idea, looking down into the mysterious depths of the cathedral, that this might make a good painting. So she got out her cell phone, took a few photographs, and when she got home, she started looking at what she had shot. She found one photograph that she thought had an almost perfect composition, so she cropped the painting, transferred it to her sheet of paper, and began to paint. Now, as you look at this painting, you can see this is an extremely complicated and extremely intricate design to this particular painting. Anne said that this painting actually took the longest time of any painting she had ever done. She worked on it for 4 months. She worked 3 to 4 days a week, and she worked over 4 hours every time she worked on the painting. The other thing that she mentioned is that when she was painting, the complexity she would almost lose her place in the painting, because the design is so complex. So she had to step away from the painting, and then she would come back and go to a different section of the painting. If she was painting in this intricate section, she might come back and paint in this area. And she said that would actually revive her and she would be able to continue with the painting. Now, the last two sections that she painted are actually the two workers. And this very dark area down here, she painted last. And she said that was because she felt like they were so important to the quality and the feeling of the painting that she wanted to be sure she understood what she was looking at. Now, Anne said that basically she didn't think a lot about things like color theory and that type of thing when she was painting. She was trying to paint what she actually saw in her photograph. She said her painting was very emotional and spontaneous. And as we look at that, I think all of the viewers can probably understand that. She did paint the workers were second to last. She worked really hard to try to get the colors in their clothing right. And then she began to work on this very mysterious area down here. She tried and tried and tried looking at the photograph to figure out what was in that area, and she could never really tell. So, as any artist might do, she focused on what she could see without understanding what was actually creating the image. What I'd like to do now is share Karen Knutson, the judge's comments. This painting has everything going for it. Mystery, good workmanship, great design, captivating story, great colors. I loved the contrast of the blue-grays versus the red-orange. A great range of colors within each value family. I could stare at this one for hours and probably discover something new every time I viewed it. So now we'll go ahead and move to our second place painting. Our second place painting is Gift of Service by Karen Tobias. Her brother served in the Vietnam War. And as we all remember, that was a very difficult time for our country. There were student riots, there were flag burnings, and soldiers, when they returned to the U.S. from a tour of duty in Vietnam, were often treated with disrespect. They might be questioned, they might be abused. So it was a really hard time for many people in the United States, and it was a hard time for Karen and her family. That's what inspired this painting. Now, what did she use to create the painting? She actually sat down with her brother's photographs and began to go through them to get an idea. When she conceived the painting, we have a soldier here that is a generic soldier. He is not intended to have any particular race. We also have a uniform that is not intended to be specific to any branch of service. She actually intended for them to be very generic. The soldier is holding the flag. He is not offering to us. He's holding it in front of him, kind of meditating on it. He's thinking about his time in the service. He's thinking about his experiences with his comrades. And he's thinking about the fact that, and this really inspired Karen, he's thinking about the fact that service can be a beautiful thing. We can all serve in our own way, and we can all help humanity. Karen wanted to communicate that with her painting, and one of the ways she did it is through the hands of the soldier. If you notice, the hands are very large. Karen's mother always told her that hands tell the tales of each person's life. She also said that beautiful are the hands that work. So Karen made them a focus of the painting. Now, Karen's comments, and I mean Karen the judge, her comments follow. This painting tugs at my heartstrings. It definitely has a story. and involves the viewer by the mystery of the shadowed face. I love it when artists pull the viewer to complete the painting. I especially like looking at the background and seeing how the artist has a great knowledge of special effects created by salt and how different colors react to it. The hidden stars were a nice surprise too. The hands are really well painted. So now we'll move on to our third place painting. So here we have a subtly beautiful painting by Wesley Merritt. And the inspiration for his painting was the sunlight coming through a window of a new day. He sees a new day as an opportunity for a fresh start, to kind of start all over. And that's what he was trying to communicate with this painting. Wesley worked with a professional model and did a photo shoot that he used to create the painting. Now, Wesley has a very unusual background that I'd like to share with you. He actually trained as a comic book and graphic novel artist. He went to school for that, and between 1991 and 2001, between 1992 and 2001, he worked for Activision, for Marvel Comics, and for Universal Studios. When the planes hit the towers in 2001, it totally changed the world he worked in, and there were massive layoffs. He had been considering making a shift to fine art, and he used the opportunity to actually become his own boss. Wesley works now as a professional artist. He is known nationally and has won multiple awards and exhibits in multiple galleries. His passion is watercolor painting, and he tries to use his watercolors to give true meaning and true beauty. Frequently, Wesley actually paints his family and the lives of his families. Now, I'll go ahead and give you the judges' comments on this beautiful work of art. This painting has and Karen said, this painting has such a professional quality to it. The skin has so many subtle color changes, and the texture of the fabric is expertly painted. It reminds me of the paintings of Steve Hanks. I love the way the artist did the hair. This is beautifully composed and has a very sensitive handling of even the background. Every area of this painting is gorgeous. So now we'll go ahead and move on to our fourth place winner. Here we have a painting titled After the Rain by an artist named Bob Myers. Bob actually received a degree in fine art from Ball State University, and he said that 4 years was just wonderful. He ran from painting to drawing, to class, and it was spectacular. In this particular painting, Bob was actually walking in a field near his home and saw this little wood duck sitting in front of the fall foliage and along the side of a body of water. Now, Bob is what we would call a colorist. He likes to enhance the color, and he decided that with this painting to really focus on the use of pinks and purples. He built the painting in small areas, and it's almost like a mosaic. I think Bob might have actually used that term, but there's a very mosaic type quality to this painting. The way that he would complete a painting of this intricacy, he says that he would initially paint the dark shapes, and he would use them as an anchor to focus his eye. If he kind of got lost in all the detail, he would focus on the darks, look at his photograph, and then he could go right back to where he had been working. Bob tried to emphasize the busy background within which sat this pretty little bird in his tuxedo. He saw the bird as a cooling element in the painting to kind of quiet all the frenzy going on around the duck. Bob also had the statement, "I felt if I could bombard the viewer with all the shape shifting and color contrasting and detail, I'd have it." So now let's hear what the judge had to say about this painting. "This artist has so much wow with color. I couldn't wait to see this one in person. I love the tones of it, and seeing it in person, I'm even more impressed. I'm a big fan of Gustav Klimt, and I felt like the water was so unusually handled with all the tiny shapes similar to the tiny shapes that Klimt paints. Bob got away with busy shapes because if you stand back, all the tiny shapes melt together as a big shape. The colors were the big wow of this painting. The design works well also. I'm not a fan of wildlife paintings usually, but this one totally grabbed me." So now we'll move on to our 5th place prize winner. This is our 5th place prize winner. It's by an artist named Tim Lewis and is entitled "Sunshine Came Softly." The inspiration came from his wife. Tim was reclining in his easy chair one day, and his wife brought this bouquet of flowers and set them on a table in front of a window. Well, luckily, there was sunshine streaming through the window, and when Tim saw the sunshine hitting this vase, it washed out the colors on the backside of the bouquet and came through the vase that was filled with water, creating reflections and sparkle. One of the things that Tim likes about the painting, and he's very, very proud of this, is this dark shape on the right-hand side. He said he's tried to paint that type of shape before, the really intense, deep dark, and as any watercolor artist can tell you, this is very hard to achieve. Tim mixes his colors. He doesn't use a tube black. He uses cobalt blue and sepia. And this shape actually has 15 layers of color applied to get that dark shade. Now, Karen, again, the judge, had the following to say: "Flowers have to be very well painted and have something extra for me to give them an award. I believe that we want to give the viewer something extra instead of just painting a duplicate of what a photo can do. This one is beautifully composed, having a long vertical light shape on the left and a trail of light bringing the viewer down through the stems, and then the opposite horizontal light shape on the right. The colors of the flowers are pure, clean colors with a great transparency and sparkle. I love the contrast between dark and light values in this one." Now we'll move on to our 6th place painting. This painting is by Emily Wingate, and the title is "Glimmer." Emily is an artist that actually suffers from medical PTSD after a surgery that didn't go well. When she was recovering in her hospital bed, she needed something to distract her, and she asked some of her friends, or maybe it was her sisters, to bring her a set of watercolor paints. And with the watercolor paint, she could work in her hospital bed, and it kept her hands busy and her mind distracted. And when she sits upright, she can only paint for about an hour at a time. She said that this painting was the most intricate and took the longest period of time to paint of anything she had ever done. It took her about 45 hours to do that. Now you might ask what actually inspired Emily to create this painting. Emily was walking with her son along White River one day. The sun was shining through the water and it was sparkling and hit this section of beautifully colored rocks, which is kind of unusual in an urban river. She asked her son to take a photograph, and he did, and that was actually the source for this painting. Now, Emily, when she evaluated the different paintings to decide which painting to use, she looked for a variety of shapes, a variety of colors, and a variety of textures in the rocks. Emily says that she has taught herself to stop and notice the beauty around us, to find the little moments of joy. She looks for what she calls the glimmers in life, and that helps her not to be triggered and to have the pain start again. So this is Emily's painting. The judge has the following to say: I admire artists who can capture not only shadows, but reflections and the feeling of rocks underwater. When I squinted, the design was good also, with a wide range of lights, mediums, and darks. The artist also skillfully led the viewer's eyes throughout the painting by arranging the rocks in a light pathway. Great variety and color changes in the rocks. And one of the things that I think is the most amazing about this painting is that if you look at it closely, Emily actually did not paint any water. It's all water interacting with the rocks. So now we'll go ahead and move on to our 7th place winner, a totally different painting. This is a painting that was done by Jerry Smith called Hill Country Brick. Jerry actually left a job in business in the 1970s to become a professional artist. Quite a bold move, but very successful for him. Today, Jerry paints primarily in oils and watercolor. He loves to paint the hills of southern Indiana and marine scenes. He travels a tremendous amount, and in his studio, he has a large bookcase full of sketchbooks that he uses to create his compositions. He paints in a loose impressionistic style, and his color palette is limited, and his trees are beautifully drawn. Jerry says he came up through the School of Hard Knocks. He had no professional training, and when he decided to get into watercolor, he took classes at the Art League of Indianapolis, that's now the Art Center of Indianapolis, and he also took workshops across the country. Today, he says that if you paint from the heart, you will always tell a story. The judge's comments related to this particular painting are that this painting shows confidence and is very professionally done. I love the composition in this painting, the sunlight on the grass, and the road leads the viewer's eye up to the buildings. I especially like the ways the trees are painted. So that's our 7th place winner. And now we're going to go from a country landscape to a cityscape. This particular painting was done by an artist named Susan Semenik, whose husband is from Slovenia. And she follows a lot of websites related to Slovenia to keep her husband up to date on the news, and also just to help understand the world he came from. The painting that she completed here is of Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, and she used a very interesting technique to paint this painting. She used only 2 colors with a touch of red. She used the quinacridone gold and Payne's gray. So when you look at this, it's a very simple color palette. But she painted this painting 2 different times. If you look at it, you have light lights and dark darks. And in the first painting, she didn't get the dramatic effect she wanted. So she painted the painting a second time. Now, one of the things that's very interesting about Susan, and a little bit different than a lot of the other artists we are looking at, she says she's a very fast painter. She did this painting in 1 afternoon. You know, so that's, for any artist, that's a very rapid turnaround time for a painting. The judge had the following remarks to make about this painting. The drama of this painting is what pulled me to this painting. High contrast and daring colors. It almost reminded me of Van Gogh's paintings. The black color seemed a little too dark to me, but I loved the contrast too. It held my attention. All the symbols by the bicycle in the foreground were such a nice surprise. Now, winning an award made Susan smile, but there was something that made her smile even more, and that was her husband's reaction when he saw her finished painting. This is a painting, the painting that won ninth place. It's done by an artist named Diana Porter and is titled Evening News. The inspiration is a walk through her living room one Sunday morning when Diana saw her husband using his cell phone to catch up on the news. And it kind of threw her into a flashback when she remembered years ago her husband would be sitting at a table or sitting on the couch on a Sunday morning, glancing at the news and working on the crossword puzzle. And that got Diane thinking about how much technology has changed our lives over the last few years. She grabbed her cell phone and took a few photographs. One of the things she was fascinated by was the contrast between the very hard black stripes in the throw and the soft texture of her husband's green fleece sweatshirt. So good contrast there. She used the photograph almost 100% for her painting, but she did make one particular change that she thought made a huge difference. She wasn't sure at the time and was very nervous, but she changed this section from a gray wall to a brown wall. And if you look at the painting, that just pushes her husband's face forward. It kind of makes it pop. So a very good decision on Diana's part. Diana is trained as an illustrator. She says that her training has led her to know how to tell a story. And when she paints her paintings, the stories she frequently tells with her watercolors are stories about her family, her husband, her kids, her grandkids, and the lives that they live. Now, the judge had the following comments to make about this particular painting. The portraits in this show were very strong, and you'll see those in just a minute. This one has great colors in the skin, and the artist arranged the lights in a skillful manner. Nice variants of soft and hard edges. The loose vignette style works well to bring the viewer into the painting. So that's our 9th prize winner. We had 10 winners, and we're going to go finish with our only abstract. This painting was done by Beverly Mathis and is titled Deep Dive Doodles. Beverly is an artist that has been painting and teaching and jurying shows for several years. She teaches at the Southside Art League of Indianapolis, and her abstract paintings always come from demos in her classes. She said she usually has 2 abstract paintings going at one time. She paints about 30 paintings a year, and I know a lot of that, for a lot of us semi-professional artists, may seem like a lot, but I think a lot of her paintings do start in her classes. And Beverly says when she's painting her abstract, she feels like a 5-year-old. She just gets in and plays. She starts out by creating shapes. She does think about a good composition, and she tries very hard to follow all of the rules for a good design. She also spends a lot of time doing what if, wondering what if I use this or what if I use that. In this particular painting, she used a lot of different types of items to create texture. She used shrink wrap. She used a Mr. Clean eraser. She used sponges, and just a lot of different tools. She did stamping that you can see in the painting. And everything that she's doing here is trying to create action, movement, with interesting colors and textures. Now, one of the things that happened as she worked on this painting is she began to see little faces in her painting. And she used ink and various other things to enhance and bring out the faces. So I encourage all of you to take a close look at this painting and take a look and find all of the eyes and faces that Beverly hid in this interesting abstract work. Now, Karen, the judge, had the following to say about this particular painting. It is a very interesting curvilinear design. I love the contrast of all the elements and principles of design. It's fun to search for the fish. I love the movement in the painting. The artist had so much fun doodling in this piece. It's really fun to look at. So that is our 10th prize winner. I wanted to give you just a little more information. There was a total of $9,000 in prize money awarded this year, and that goes from $2,000 to Best in Show to $200 for the 10th prize winner. So thank you for walking around the gallery with me, and I'll turn it back to Linda.
I want to thank you all for joining us. Linda, thank you so much for your expertise in doing this. I want to thank our executive director for her, Tanya Roberts, for her talent and technology knowledge that is going to be able to produce this for us. And we're going to take you around the whole gallery and show you all the paintings. Thank you.